Hello YouTube, I wanted to give a little monthly update on the aquarium here. Just threw a little bit of shrimp in, so they're eating. You can see the Picasso triggerfish has a little shrimp hanging out of his mouth, and need to do a little cleaning on the tank. But going pretty well. The puffer here, you can see he's getting pretty big and fat. I'm wanting to say he's probably about 3 to 3.5 inches now in length. He's definitely the biggest fish in the tank. Bigger than the clown trigger, and they were roughly the same size when I got them. And just a real fat fish. And otherwise, everybody else is growing. I measured the Picasso triggerfish. He came up and let me measure him the other day, and he's right at 2 inches. So like I said, I think the puffer here is 3.5 inches, probably about 3 inches on the clown trigger. And then the little clownfish, they're still hanging out, doing well. I guess they're probably both about 2 inches. One of them's a little bigger than the other. But everything's going well with this tank. And it's been set up since, August, I believe, was when I set it up. So it's March 17th now. So however many months that is. August, September, October, November, December. 8.5 months, 7.5, 8 months, something like that. And yeah, so it's going well. And these are the only fish I've got. Don't plan on getting any more. And seeing if you followed this series at all, seeing how fast they grow, and hopefully they'll be in this tank for a couple years at least. So we'll see. Gonna be real curious to watch the Picasso or the clown trigger and the puffer, their growth rates. They get bigger than the other fish in the tank. Picassos get a little size to them, but I've never seen a huge one. Certainly not a huge one that's been raised in the tank. Probably the wild ones get up to the 12-inch mark like you read, but I don't think the ones that are raised in captivity get quite as big, maybe 6, 7 inches. I think 7 inches is probably the biggest Picasso triggerfish I've ever seen. So we'll just see how it goes, and everything's going well. The Picasso triggerfish, this is the second Picasso triggerfish I've ever had. The other one I had, I was a teenager when I had it, and I turned it back into the store when I went to college. And they are by far the coolest fish of any fish I've ever owned, freshwater or saltwater. They're pretty fish. They're not necessarily as pretty as some of the others, but their behavior, they're so interesting, even more so than the clown triggerfish, which I would think that, being triggerfish, they'd both be comparable behavior-wise, but they're just very different in their behavior. And you hear and read the word quirky thrown around for the Picasso triggerfish behavior, and I would certainly say they qualify. Like I said, it's the second one I've had, and just really interesting fish. And you can't go wrong with the Picasso triggerfish. I highly recommend them to anybody thinking about getting into saltwater. They're just really fascinating. So that's my update. Not a whole lot going on with the tank. Like I said, you can see I need to do a little cleaning to it. But otherwise, you're doing really well. And also to anybody out there who's never gotten into saltwater aquariums, this tank is kind of a evidence that you can run them pretty minimally. And other than the salt, this one's pretty much ran like you'd run a freshwater tank. There's not anything on it other than the filters. I've got 3 filters. I've got the heater and then a little shop light for lighting, and that's it. And then, of course, the salt water. And yeah, so it's going well. Cheers.